I'm Will. So I'm president of 42Blockchain. So basically, this masterclass is going to be about how to win a hackathon, and we have the chance to have Patrick, Luca, and sorry, I don't remember the last name. Paul, sorry, excuse me, that joined us today. So they are some cracked devs, and they win a lot of hackathons. So after meeting them in many hackathons, I was like, okay, we need to do something for me first to learn from the best, but it can also help every other students from 42 and outsiders. So I will let you guys continue, and thank you for joining again.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for inviting us.
Okay, so today we're going to give you a deep dive into our hackathon journey and give you some details for tips and tricks and also the pitfalls we ran into. First of all, we want to give you the chance to ask questions throughout the presentation, so you can scan the QR code. It will be on other slides later on too, so during the presentation you can ask some questions. First of all, who are we? We are Patrick, Luca, and Paul. That's me. And we started our journey at 42 Heilbron and noticed our combined interest in blockchain and Ethereum at the school and decided to go to a hackathon together. Our first hackathon was ETH Global Lisbon. Since then, we attended 8 hackathons, won over 50,000 in prizes, and were finalists 3 times. Here are some pictures of us during the hackathons. Now I'm going to show you some interesting project of ours, which includes BridgeBuddy, which was a finalist project at ETH Global Istanbul. It is an onboarding solution, a completely simple to use chain abstracted wallet. So the user doesn't even know that there are multiple chains involved in his transactions. Next one up is Votelic Polarine. It was a project of ETH Global London, and it was a person-bound voting system inside a Farcaster frame. So was easy to use, easy in the Farcaster ecosystem. Next up was Banana Bets. That was a finalist project at ETH Global Brussels. It was a betting platform on finalist projects of the hackathon, and it utilized an easy-to-use login using an NFC hardware crypto wallet wristband for everyone to log into the platform. Next up was Fill Me Up. It was our finalist project of ETH Global Singapore this year, and it is a service that automatically transfers gas from a source chain to a destination chain if the destination chain falls under a specific limit. So it's simple, similar to a prepaid account, and you don't have to worry about having gas on all chains. So that is a picture of our Fill Me Up service. And this one is our project from Istanbul, which is BridgeBuddy. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the hackathons we attend, which are mainly ETH Global. ETH Global is the biggest organizer in the Ethereum ecosystem. They do about 8 to 10 events yearly. The prizes are separated into 2 sections, the main prize and partner prizes. Partner prizes focus mostly on specific subjects, aspects of the partner system or new frameworks that they want you to integrate. And the hackathon is in a specific structure organized. It's the opening ceremony on the first day, after which the hacking starts. On the second day, there's only hacking. On the third day, there's the closing ceremony and also the pitching on the last day. The pitching on the last day is divided into 2 sections. Main judging, where you judge in front of randomly selected judges and do a short demo, and then they can have like a Q&A with you. That's about 3 minutes. And then there's the partner judging, where you judge in front of the event partners which you previously selected during the first day where you talk to the event partners. Yeah, and most of the time there are pretty big prizes involved in these hackathons. But now I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, who's going to tell you more.
Yeah. So I thought trying, I guess most of you are fairly new. So I'm just trying to give you a rough idea, how to structure your project or what the ideal scenario would be. And first of all, the ideal project, I think it starts with an idea, but it should be a clear use case. It should be, and that's really important, and go into more detail later, it should be meaningful for the partner tech integration. Has to be somewhat usable, although a proof of concept or some unique thing you're gonna try this also works out. A novel idea is always good. Also not, it doesn't have to be super novel. Having a existing thing and changing it slightly is also fine. It just shouldn't be something that's already done 20 times. And the most important thing is obviously a funny name, as you already saw. And yeah, so this is, I think for us, is the optimal journey. And you can see the most important step is preparation. So preparing is, if you want to win, that's the most important thing. It's not really necessary to have fun at a hackathon. So you can definitely skip that step. However, your chances of winning are very tiny compared to actually preparing fully for that hackathon. And the preparing phase, I think it's roughly three stages: is getting an idea, then studying that stuff, and then specifying what exactly you want to do. And let's start off with the idea. Again, this is before the hackathon actually starts. So you can do this weeks in advance. We came up with an idea on some hackathons 3 weeks in advance. Doesn't have to be a fully fledged out idea, just a rough idea. For example, with the Vortelic Polarine, I think we already had some idea that, hey, we want to do some kind of voting in a Farcaster frame. What exactly, we didn't really know, but we knew Farcaster frames are kind of hype right now. And we thought, hey, let's include that somehow in an idea. And to get an idea, I think, first of all, it could be hot topics in the current Web3 area. However, if you have expertise in that area, and for my first hackathons, I didn't really know anything. What you can definitely do is always look at the partner grants. They are very, partially very explicit in what they actually want, but you can skim through them and really figure out, try not to just read what they're saying, try to actually think about it and think about the company behind it and what the company actually wants. And I'd really, because we had that issue with our first couple of hackathons, really do not try to merge more than 2 ideas. If you're alone, I would just go with a single grant. If you are a team, I would go with 2 maximum. You can include pool prizes or very small stuff in there, and you can always deploy on multiple chains. But for 2 really main ideas, I would not merge more than 2. I haven't really seen it out. I haven't really seen it work. And I think, for example, for the last hackathon, which was in Bangkok, I think both of us basically just had 1 grant in there, and we actually won both of them. So, and the competition wasn't actually that high because there's a lot of teams who actually split that throughout 5 or 6 different grants and don't win any of them. And this is actually what happens to us before as well. And for the people just starting out, if you have that first idea, I would really recommend just removing 80% of that idea because it's not going to work out. It's just going to be 2 days. So whatever, I haven't seen a single new team come up with an idea that's actually doable. I even talking to new teams at our school, they go with much higher ambitions to the hackathon than we actually do. And we have now, I think I have 10 ETH Global Hackathons experience now, and their ambitions are twice as high as mine, and it just won't work out. You only have 2 days. So just make it as easy and as simple as possible. And once you're there, try to cut even more. And now this is also, again, remember, if you look at the timeline below, it's still the time before the hackathon actually starts. So if you want to succeed, I think this is really important. And this is studying. And if you're really new, then you should learn to set up your tools. I would really recommend looking at Scaffold ETH for the beginners. There's also gonna be there's YouTube tutorials. It's basically just a Foundry or Hardhat with a Next.js setup. But and if you aren't familiar with any of these, really get familiar with it before. I had that issue with my first hackathon. I spent the whole first hackathon, like the full 48 hours, I just spent trying to set up Foundry. I didn't even manage to set it up properly. So really get to know your tools before. And then once you have done that, read and try out the docs. So if you know, hey, this brand seems really interesting, I'd really like to go for that. Read their docs, like read the full docs, try out the examples. After you've done that, read the docs again, try out the examples again. For example, for the last hackathon, I decided to go with Layer 0 because they had a 7K grant. And what I did is just went through the docs and thought, okay, let's try just deploy some stuff that just sends a message to another chain and gives me back that message. Really simple in theory, but I got stuck for that in like a couple of days. And it's actually not considered like, sometimes people consider this cheating, I'd say, but you don't actually start with a project, right? You just try out to learn the docs. We also included projects, which we already included a couple of hackathons before. So we actually got to know the docs. Looking at the docs is not cheating. Like if you actually start a project, it's a different thing. You shouldn't be doing that. They will flag you for that. But reading and trying out the docs, trying to figure out the examples, trying to get some stuff to work, this should be totally fine. And on the right, very important, you can see the PPO meter. So at this stage, you still think everything is probably going to be all right. And you also, then when the hackathon starts, so this is what we do when the hackathon actually starts, is specifying it. So before it was just a rough idea, but at this point, we really sit down and map out the technical details. And I think this is like, when the hackathon starts, your brain is like still the freshest. So at that point, at least for us, it's the case that we are still able to do complex tasks. It's a different story later on. So at this stage, you should try to map out like the technical details as best as you can. There's always going to be some stuff where you realize, oh, we forgot about that. However, if you tried out the docs and the examples beforehand, there shouldn't be any huge surprises. If there are huge surprises, it just means that you didn't prepare enough. And we also had this with hackathons. I'm just going back to the preparation thing because we thought, okay, we looked at the docs, oh, it seems really simple. Now, if you didn't try it out and actually make it work, then it's not simple. You didn't try it out and you'll probably run into problems. At that point, you can also split up the work. And it's also really important to talk with sponsors, even if you don't need help. Just talk to them, figure out like, do they like the idea? Maybe they have like some feedback and say like, hey, the idea roughly is great, but we would really like you to implement that. And then you can try going that route. After all, you kind of want to do what they want you to do. And talking to them, also making sure they know you. And already getting some feedback is really, really valuable. And then, then the next phase starts, which is actually hacking. So this is when the preparation phase, Paul explained it before, is when the ETH Global Hackathon starts, but hacking is actually not beginning. So at that point, you can already talk to the sponsor, but you're not allowed to code. And once actually hacking starts, that's the moment when you're actually allowed to code. And that's, where you try. I think the most important thing is just trying to get it to work somehow. So the moment you get stuck for like more like 20 minutes, you should probably just go to your partner and ask them. And it doesn't matter what question. Like we had on our first hackathons, we had them ask about simple React stuff because we just didn't understand it. Like I know when I was with Pascal in Sydney, like we also got stuck on really stupid stuff that doesn't have to do anything with a protocol, but they are programmers, so they can help you. They have more experience, and just ask them. And usually they're very willing to help you because they're paying a lot of money to actually be there. And if you, after some while, still can't get it to work, just mock it. It's not that people understand that it's a hackathon and that you probably won't be able to get everything 100% functional. You don't have to deliver a product that's fully working. It should be a concept that's sort of working, right? So mocking some stuff is totally fine. And one thing I really also would recommend is getting a couple of hours of sleep. Like the worst times where I really didn't make any progress is when I was staying up until late at night and thought I have to get this to work somehow and didn't sleep. And then you get stuck for like, often the partners aren't actually more because they're also sleeping, but then you can get for multiple hours on like a very basic problem. I had like, I could name 10 different instances where that actually happened. And so get some sleep, maybe go outside, maybe first try to go outside, get some bit of fresh air, 20 minutes later, look at the problem again. If it still doesn't work, really just go to sleep and get up in the morning again and try to fix it then. And one thing that we also learned the hard way is that you shouldn't change the idea midway. So if you have an idea and that idea, you think midway, oh, this really didn't make that much sense, we should try to go for something else, or like, we don't think this idea is that great anymore, don't change it. Like at that point, you have already committed so much. If you change now, you won't get anything. We had that happen in New York, and it's quite painful. So if you have an idea and even then you get like mixed feedback, just try to go stick with it. Better like do that idea and try to get it work than to actually change it. It doesn't work at that point anymore. And you can also, looking at the PPO, you can see that at that point you'll probably be already, yeah, quite angry or like quite frustrated at the code, but that's normal and that's gonna happen. And this is what usually we do at the end stage. You can do some of that stuff already in the preparation phase when the hackathon actually begins. So you can already create the project, write some rough descriptions. But at that point, we usually create the demonstration, doing a live demo. I think it's quite important, doing the showcase and the video. And they will tell you as well, ETH Global, that at that point you should keep a couple of hours in mind. However, at that stage, it doesn't really matter, like if your brain isn't functioning properly anymore. Just do some presentation. People understand that you're tired and that you did hack quite a bit. If there's a couple of typos in the presentation or it doesn't look super pretty, I don't think anyone cares really that much. So just try to get the presentation through. I would really recommend doing a video. And yeah, that's it. And then when the actually ends, I think usually our stress level goes quite a bit down, because at that point it's just pitching. I'd recommend either you can just practice the pitches beforehand to some other people, but what we usually do is like usually have a couple of grants in there where you don't really expect anything to win. So this could be like you deploy it on multiple chains and you just go to these chains and pitch to them, because that's actually just good practice. And for the pitching, I think should be fairly straightforward, but since it's a hacking competition, you have to keep it simple and light. They don't want like huge marketing pitches. They just want like, same as this presentation, I guess, is usually how we have it as well. Simple, light presentation, not too formal, don't do too much. It's just be normal. And I think I can actually, maybe I already have some questions in the middle. Maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I think we can do a slight break.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer like the first question. Like, I think Luca, since you are the created the poll, you'll have to mark them. But the minimum knowledge, I think it's you can just go there whenever, right? If you have no knowledge and don't prepare fully, you probably won't win anything. It doesn't really matter. It's still a fun experience. If you have no knowledge and prepare a lot, you might win something. If you want to like really succeed, obviously you need knowledge and prepare. That's like the only way, but you can still go there. Don't worry too much. Just go there. There's plenty of people who have like no coding experience and just do like the marketing stuff usually. So I think it's perfectly fine. Just go there. They like new people. Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. There we are. The example. I mean, yeah. Luca, do you want to do the example?
That's my part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I think you have to.
Yeah, you have to stop sharing your screen and I can start.
I'll try. Stop streaming.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so I hope the screen is visible. Okay, so Patrick just told you about the theoretical approach, our theoretical approach to the hackathons, and now we're thinking maybe we should show you guys how this looks roughly in practice. And for that, we want to just go through the whole steps again using a project that we coded in Singapore. I think Paul already mentioned it in the beginning. It's called Fill Me Up. And if after this presentation you want to look it up yourself and read some of the information because maybe something you didn't get, you can just go to ethglobal.com/showcase and then type in the project name.
I don't think it's showing the screen, at least not for me. I don't know if it's for the other ones, but it's not loading.
Yeah, it's not loading.
Yeah, I will remove my camera for to have a better bandwidth.
I think it's Luca's internet.
Now it's loading, right? Did it just
It's not
switch?
for me. I
Not
don't know.
no.
I mean, I can join and
No.
Okay,
Is it-
because for
I
me
can
it looks
see
like
it,
it's
I can
active,
see
but
it.
I can maybe.
It's an issue with my
my-
internet, like us.
Okay.
I'll actually
No,
leave
it's
and rejoin. Can't see it. Okay, some people can't see it, so we have some.
Most of
that's
the people
weird.
can't see it.
Can you stop sharing for a second, Luca? Or did you already do that? Because
Yeah,
yeah,
I will.
and I'll try again. I think
No, I will. I just stopped and I will try again.
yeah.
Okay, can you guys see it?
Mm.
No.
Mm-mm. No.
Maybe select the lower video quality option or something.
Or maybe leave and join again. Maybe that helps.
Not even sure how I can select the lower option.
I mean, it asks you in the first screen. Resolution. What options did you select, Luca?
No options. I just clicked on window and then let me try again.
Are you in the
okay.
you don't have the Discord app?
No, I'm in browser.
Yeah, we usually have problems with that. I think that just
Maybe that's the issue.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a PowerPoint. That's a problem. It's like it's just a browser tab.
maybe Luca, you can download Discord, and in the meantime, we can answer some more questions.
Yeah, good idea.
That's a good idea. Then I'll just go through it. So the next question is, I'm joining a hackathon focused on multi-group data sharing using blockchain. What do you think about this? Multi-group data sharing using blockchain. I think it's very interesting. It's actually something that I thought about yesterday because we have like that issue as well. Really interesting. Maybe just post the link somewhere because I would also be interested in that. I think it's a great idea. So, I mean, joining any hackathon, it's just some hackathons are you have to be a bit more careful because they're often more marketing focused. So with ETH Global, that's not the case. You really need to submit code, otherwise, don't expect to win anything. But I think usually the blockchain stuff is usually more coding oriented. But I think it's a great idea. What did you do with the money? I think Paul gambled it away, but yeah, I think most of us still have it in the wallet.
Yeah.
Personally,
Well, I think a good chunk of the money was used for the traveling costs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like we're just sitting this amount of money around. It's yeah, you have to fly to Singapore and back, and it's going to cost you something.
I was also to Sydney and back, and in Sydney I made quite a bit of loss. I think in San Francisco I made quite a bit of a loss, and not every hackathon goes as well as like Bangkok did now.
No.
How much time before ETH Global do you start preparing it? I think it really depends. I mean, time. If I have to work during the week, and I know I only have I still have a month, but of that month I only have 2 or 3 weekends, then I think it's a good time to start preparing. I think usually like 4 or 5 days is usually enough. So if you commit to that 4 or 5 days full time, obviously if you have no experience whatsoever and want to really shoot for the stars and win a big grand first time, you should probably start preparing a month in advance and really go through with it. But you don't have to, right? I mean, it's like one thing is winning and one thing is just having fun, and you can have fun even without preparing.
I think also we had quite some successes with, I think in Brussels, we became finalists without preparing anything, where we just had the idea Friday evening, the start of the hackathon after hacking started, and it still worked out. So sometimes, you don't have to like be this rigid and like stick to the plan, but obviously the further out you start preparing, the better the end result is likely going to be.
Yeah. How do you find hackathons? We usually just go to the ETH Global site. So we are, I think, just the ETH Globals. I think it's about 10 a year is usually enough for me. I don't have much more time on my hand. I have a full-time job. I work for 42 Heilbron, so this is the limit. And
I can just add also that we share in the events channel some hackathons, both online and physical. So if you're looking for them, just go in the channel and you can use the search bar and type hackathons, and you will find every hackathons happening. And we usually had every time we see one popping, we just had it here. So yeah.
Luca, can you mark them as completed, the questions? Otherwise, it mixes up now. If you have time.
Sorry, next time.
I think Luca's frozen. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I think the next question was, are there any online hackathons? Yeah, so the organizer we go to, ETH Global, they also have online hackathons. I think there are about like 5 or something like that, 6 on site, and the rest is online. So yeah, there are also online hackathons.
Yeah. How important is it when it comes to the design of your product? I'm not sure what you mean exactly by design. I think if it's like UX, I think would also, like, at least for me, falls a bit into the design area. It's relative important. It really depends on what you're going for, right? If you're going for some front end stuff or some wallet grant, then I think it's much more important. Like in my last hackathon, I hacked Zolo and I went for something really technical, and there was basically no design. I didn't even have a front end, so then it doesn't matter. But if you go for something that should improve UX, then your UX should be great, right? Like for the
Bridge Buddy?
no, the gas,
Fill Me Up.
Fill Me Up, yeah. For Fill Me Up, I think it was a UX project, so it should make stuff more simple. So the design was much more important there. And you could also see it in the front end. We actually went for the nouns grant, which means you should include the nouns images in the front end. It obviously matters, like if that looks pretty or if that looks like shit. We won that grant, and we wouldn't have won that if it didn't look great. But it really depends on the grant you're going for. Like if I'm going solo, I'll never include anything design stuff because I know I'm not good at that. What's the ratio of time spent and money gained? Not good. I yeah, don't think this is gonna be like an easy money hack. I would, if you really like need money and don't think hackathons are fun, I would recommend just getting a normal job. Like the amount of time spent in there is like immense, and if it's not actually fun, then it doesn't work. Yeah, now it's mixing up. I don't know. I want to join the Prague ETH Global. I'm without experience. Do you have any chance of if I start learning from? Yeah, I mean, of course. Yeah, just I mean, you always have a chance. Prague is still so far in the future. I'm sure you still have a chance of like being the top performer there. It's just a matter of if you're motivated enough to do that. And even if you're not, even if you don't try to shoot for the stars, maybe just try to win something small. Even if you don't prepare, just come. Just coming there is preparation for the next hackathon. So it's easy. Which blockchain would you recommend to start learning, or are they pretty much the same regarding the basics of into blockchain technology? There's differences. Specifically, like I looked into Solana now a bit. There's much less development focused stuff. However, like I think all of us are primary Ethereum developers.
Yeah.
Any of the Ethereum chains are basically the same. There's no real difference. I mean, there was, for example, one hackathon like the super hack, and the super hack was very it was focused on the super chain, which is like a new concept. Obviously, there you need to like learn that tech because they wanted you to do something technical with that. But usually, as long as if you want to join ETH Globals, obviously you need to learn how Ethereum works, and I think it's a good starting point.
That's sorry, which question was that? Prague question?
Which blockchain would you recommend to start learning, or are they all pretty much the same?
Okay. I think then I also checked off everything else.
Yeah,
shall we answer the rest of the questions, or because I've Discord installed now?
Yeah, try to share, then we'll
yeah, let's see if it works now. Okay, first I have to approve some settings.
I'll go with it because you have to restart. Do you continue development in the idea after the hackathon? Yes, we actually do that for them. Really depends. For example, with Brussels, we had like an idea that was very focused on the actual hackathon itself, and I think none of us really had the idea to actually go forward with that because it didn't really make sense with that idea. But for some of them, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're actually building on one idea right now. How much has participating in hackathons improved your skills as a developer, or do you feel like you can learn faster there? it's definitely a different thing of learning. So if you say like pure development skills, I think you can learn faster somewhere else. However, like the mix of skills, you definitely learn like 80% of the development speed you learn somewhere else. However, like there's so much more to just like coding when developing a product. So you learn how to develop a product, you learn how to structure yourself, you learn how to work with tight deadlines, you learn how to communicate with your team. You will figure out that your communication sucks because the front end devs is something completely else than what the back end devs expected. And like these are really, really important skills if you work. I mean, I can't talk about bigger companies, but at least here at 42 Heilbron, that kind of stuff helped me immensely and will definitely still help me. So I
And
can
I
really
think,
recommend.
yeah, I think also it's a great excuse to just practice during a weekend and just add a new project to your GitHub repository. So yeah.
When I want to jump into Web3, where to start? I would recommend just playing around with Scaffold ETH. So look for Scaffold. So Scaffold is just written Scaffold ETH. And you'll find like a sample you can set up. And they actually have already some samples. I think a counter, just a simple counter to play around with, and then you could just start writing code. I mean, Will, maybe you have some additional ideas?
Looks like he's frozen.
No, I think you just okay. Does it have the project to be full and developed, or can we still go? You can go with a demo. You don't have to like fully develop it. However, it should be somewhere working. If you come with just a Figma, if you have like some stuff working and some stuff not working, it's okayish. If you have basically everything working, but it's just mocked, that's better. If it's fully working, obviously that's perfect. But getting there is usually quite hard. So yeah.
And also, if you're at the ETH Globals, if you're going to go for the finalists grant, you're going to get into trouble if you just like show a Figma at the presentation you need to do. So yeah, so that won't work out.
Yeah, they expect live demos.
Will you guys attend the upcoming hackathons? What are your plans? Yeah, I think so. At least currently, yeah, that's a plan. What attitude should you have after not winning anything multiple times in hackathons? I think, I mean, usually after the hackathons where we underperform, like from our own expectations, we just sit down and think about what went wrong. And like, this is where like these ideas I'm trying to give you now come from. Preparation is usually a thing. Like for multiple hackathons, we thought, oh, the docs looks really simple. This should be really simple. We come there, nothing works. Like, this is like the main thing. And then you get hung on, or then you start working with that. And instead asking the partners, you get stuck on like a stupid problem. So I would really like try to figure out what went wrong. Maybe your idea was just not what the sponsors wanted. I mean, sometimes you're really unlucky. That happens, but usually it's just like if you talk to the sponsor at the beginning, try to figure out if they like the idea. And if you just ask them, hey, I have this idea, and they say, yeah, it doesn't really, then you know your chances aren't going to be that great. Then maybe just ask them, hey, what else do you want? Like, what else do you think might work? And maybe you can just slightly change your idea in that direction. And this is like, obviously there's some luck involved, but probably there's also something going wrong if you went multiple times.
Exactly, yeah. If you talk about multiple hackathons, then probably your approach has some fault in it, and you should reconsider. I think also talking to the sponsors, if I reiterate on that, talk to the sponsors in the beginning and learn how to read the reactions if they like your idea. So I think that's also one of, you either have technical implementation issues, which I think more obvious because you know, you didn't get the project done, obviously you know what went wrong, or if they just didn't like your project, then you have to learn how to find better ideas.
And if you realize that, like, I mean, I know plenty of people whose social skills aren't that great and they have trouble figuring out if the other party actually likes the idea, then just get someone in your team who like is good at that. Like if you're a really good developer and can't really figure out what idea is working, try to get someone in your team that actually can figure that out. So you don't have to learn anything. Like I can't do front end at all. that's why Paul is there. And Paul isn't really that great of a Solidity developer, but we just work with each other very well. And Luca's just doing the presentation. Obviously joking. I mean, online hackathons, I think, yes, there's always like these async hackathons. I think there's less than the on-site hackathons. So I'd really recommend the on-site ones, because I think they're much cooler. But you can do the online ones as well. ETH Global has some. When is the next hackathon? I think you can figure that out on your own on the ETH Global website. So just go to ethglobal.com. I think they have all the events there. As someone who's not familiar in the Web3 ecosystem, how does one get ideas for the hackathon? Look through the grants. So before the hackathons, you can look at all the partner companies. Sometimes they don't have a grant listed, then just go on their website and look what they're doing, and usually can figure out roughly what they want from you. And if the grants are already listed, go through them and look at what they're doing and what they actually want. They will tell you, and that's how you can get an idea.
Yeah, also you might approach this from the perspective of you as a user. So I think it's really great if you yourself are a Web3 users, because I think some of the best ideas we had at hackathons came from us having specific problems in Web3 and then just implementing like a small tool to fix this problem. And usually these kind of problems are problems that also most of the partner and judges have, so they immediately understand what this project is about. So there's also another approach to ideation.
I just want to quickly add that in the chat I added like the next dates for ETH Global Hackathons. You also have the website DevPost that publish all the hackathons, not only focused on Web3, every hackathons, and also the website of ETH Global on the showcase page, where you can find all the previous ideas and projects that were done at ETH Global. So for inspiration, it's pretty great. And you can also check if your idea already exists and someone already tried it. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, so we have only attended Ethereum hackathons so far, so we can only speak about these. But and ETH Global obviously is like the benchmark for Ethereum hackathons, and they are mainly known for the on-site hackathons, I would say, and they also have the remote hackathons. But also there are some like third-party ETH hackathons, and we can also recommend them, but they won't be as packed usually from like the partner prizes and just not as professional as ETH Global hackathons. So that's just why we keep mentioning ETH Global. Yeah.
I think like we actually went to ETH Munich, and it did have a lot less prizes. However, the quality of project submissions was like you can't even compare it to like the quality submissions at ETH Global. I think like the average quality was really like rock bottom, which means basically everyone there didn't really prepare, and everyone there didn't really have any experience, which is perfectly fine. It's just it was probably the hackathon where it was easiest to win money. So I'm not sure if that's the case for all of them, since we just attended one. However, I think it like from a money perspective or like developing your skills, it definitely makes a lot of sense going there. Yeah.
Maybe another thing to note
Also,
comes to my mind right now. I don't know if Patrick already mentioned it, but if you're currently like a front-end developer like myself, it shouldn't be like demotivating to you that you don't know Solidity and think about, oh, I need to know Solidity because that's smart contract development. You can also go there as a front-end developer and either find a team or find teammates that know Solidity, or even do projects that don't even like need Solidity. There are countless projects done at the ETH Global events that don't even have like a smart contract deployed, but use existing infrastructure, existing contracts, and yeah, just utilize them. So yeah,
also, I would say what I have witnessed countlessly was we asked other students at 42 Heilbron if they want to join us on one of the hackathons. And usually the standard answer is, yeah, but I don't know anything about this topic. And that's like the roadblock for most people, why they don't go. And I would say that's not an acceptable roadblock, basically. You learn by doing, and you should just try it out Don't be afraid of fucking up big time at the hackathon. You will still have fun. Even if you don't get anything done, you will still learn a lot, and it will be still worth it. And even if you say, okay, I can't afford to like travel to another city for this hackathon, you can still use the remote hackathons. So there's no reason to say, oh, I don't know anything about the topic, that's why I'm not participating. No, the way you learn about the topic is by participating. So don't let that stuff stop you. Yeah. We have another question that's kind of related to this. I just want to quickly answer it. When you refer to a grant, do you mean the sponsor grant or the hackathon prize? So yeah, we said it in the beginning. I think specifically for ETH Global, you have two kind of prize tracks. So one is the finalist prizes, where from all submissions, 10 projects will be selected that are like the best project of this hackathon, and they all share like the first place together, and they get some prize money from ETH Global. That's one price track, and the other one is partner prices, which splits up into a plethora of different partner prices, maybe like 150 different small grants that can be really unique, really specific to these individual projects. It can be basically everything. So that's sort of like the two price tracks. And that's when we talk about grant, sponsor grant, we're talking about the partner prices and hackathon price. I guess then if we mentioned this somewhere, this usually, I mean, in general, refers to prizes at hackathons. Okay. Should I go on? Try again to share my screen?
Yeah, just before, I just want to ask one last question. It's how to find a team. So I would say for ETH Global, it's pretty hard to just come alone and find a team here. But for smaller hackathons, you can usually come and try to talk to people and find a team. But that's not the best practice. It will be to find people like beforehand. So for example, you can use this Discord and find people in your country or that are going there. And yeah.
I mean, there's one question, where do you use Web3 in your day-to-day? It's a payment solution, so I'm using it for payments. I have the Gnosis Pay card. I think all of us have.
Yeah.
So we use that to use our hackathon earnings to buy the trip, like the everything, like the hotel, the airplane, the flights. Like we don't actually buy airplanes, just the flights. But yeah, so that's why we use it. I think most of the time, and obviously like just gambling and stuff. So the normal Web3 stuff.
I mean, I've been an on-chain user since like early 2020, and this usually it's not something constructive that you do on your day-to-day, because for a long time, I mean, now we can talk about stablecoins or whatever, but for a long time there wasn't really like a clear use case, so it was just gambling. But by gambling or like speculating or do some funny weird stuff, trying out new protocols all day long, which is kind of like a hobby for me and also for the other two guys, that's where you learn how to, I think that's maybe the origin of the question. That's where you find like some specific problems that you can then implement in the hackathon. Yeah.
Do job opportunities arise at hackathons? I think, Paul, you're like best suited to answer that question.
Yeah, so if you want to get a job through the hackathon, I would recommend to talk to the partners, ask them specifically, hey, what about job opportunities? Do you have something open? It is totally possible to get job opportunities at the events. I think if you don't do anything, if you don't talk to the partners, if you win something, maybe someone will come up to you, but your best chances to get a job is to just talk to the partners and ask them specifically about the job and get a referral through them, to be specific. So if you get a referral there, you'll get into the first interview, and from then on go through the interview process. Since most of the times these jobs get a lot of applicants, so getting into the interview process of these jobs without this referral can be quite hard. But with the referral and with talking to the sponsors, is totally possible. And yeah, if you do a project with the partner, that's probably helpful in getting a referral. And yeah, I would say, yeah, just try it.
Yeah, that's the questions. What are the challenges like? So, I mean, you can just go on the ETH Global website and look at the challenges. So you can like just read through them. But roughly speaking, they're all
Yeah.
over the place. So it really can be anything. So whatever they put there can be there. Like, for example, my rough challenge description was like, hey, we are a protocol that does chain-to-chain messaging, and we would like you to use that for some unique, cool idea. And that's it. And I tried doing that. I think for you guys, it was the World Chain. So it was WorldCoin. And they said, hey, we have these mini apps now. We would really like to you to deploy mini app on the App Store and whatever. Then you just think about it. Okay, obviously you're not going to win by just doing any app. So you think about it, what do they actually want? They probably want to attract some users. They want to have some use cases. So if you figure out what could be a cool, unique use case, and then you just do that as an app, And I worry a lot that my hackathon idea has already been implemented. How should I approach this mindset? Don't worry. I mean, I know that for the last hackathon, ETH Global Bangkok with 2,000 hackers, the guy, it was a single guy in a single team. He was participating alone, and he had like the highest winnings. And I know that his idea was already there. He just didn't know about it, and he approached the problem with a bit of a twist, because obviously he didn't know the other idea, so it was a slight change. And good chance is if you don't know about them, other people don't know about them, and it doesn't really matter that much. Obviously, if you have no idea and don't know anything about Web3 and implement a really simple thing that has already been implemented 50 times, then maybe your best approach is just like looking at two protocols, just looking at what their stuff is. You don't need to necessarily have like the full idea yet. You just go there and ask the partner companies, what do you think about this? And they will say, hey, this is already implemented, but maybe you thought about doing this. And then it's very similar to your project. You already looked at their code, you know how to work with their platform, and then you can implement that.
Yeah, also a good tool to like verify if your stuff hasn't been implemented before is the showcase. So just type in a few keywords about the project in the showcase, and then often you get like an image if this is something that has been like really regularly implemented or something relatively new. And in the end, you can never find out if someone somewhere in the world has at some point had this idea. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would just wait for the partner feedback.
The name of the card is Gnosis Pay. So Gnosis is the chain, and then Pay. You can find it with that.
Yeah.
Or you can wait a couple more weeks and message me again, because then they will probably open their referral again, and I'll get get $20.
Yes. Okay. No more
Yeah, let's go.
questions. Yeah, I'll try it again. If it doesn't work, then I guess.
Why did you try before? Had like the whole Q&A.
Oh, I mean, I already selected the options.
I don't see anything, but
I think you. Okay, so now can you see this?
you clicked. We saw it briefly, and then it went away.
And then it went away, right? What the fuck? I didn't cancel it.
Now it works.
Visible? Okay, okay. Can you also see me changing the tabs?
Slido. We see Slido.
Oh no. I changed the tab like 10 seconds ago.
You probably shared the Slido tab then.
I think I shared the whole window.
No,
But,
we see a cursor, but it's the Slido.
If I close
You
the
only
Slido
shared
tab.
this window probably.
Yeah, you need to stop the screen sharing and restart it, and choose the right screen.
I mean, I can try to share.
As you see, it's perfectly fine. Even if you're not a very technical person, you can still.
You can still go to these hackathons. Don't let that stop you.
Now we can see it. Yeah. Fill me up.
Is it changing the tabs?
Yeah,
perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sharing my whole screen now, but I don't know. Window doesn't work apparently. Okay, so now I have to refine the connection again. So Patrick told you earlier in the presentation how theoretically this our approach looks like for hackathons. And then we wanted to follow this up with like a quick example. So this is a project we implemented in Singapore. I'm gonna show you guys again at ethglobal.com/showcase. You can type in the name of the project And if you, after the presentation, you want to take a look at it because maybe you didn't understand something, you can find all of the information right here. So as Patrick told you, the biggest part of the hackathon, or the most important part from our perspective, is basically the preparation. And the first part of the preparation is ideation. And the way we got the idea for this project was, I think, just we brainstormed for a couple of hours, and over like a couple of days, we just threw in all of the shit that is like circulating in our minds. What different stuff can we implement? And then at some point, we simply came up with the idea. It usually is like that. It's not something magical. It's just you have to work for it, and at some point it pops up. And this thing specifically is also another user problem. So I don't know how many people here are like active on-chain users, but if you have multiple wallets, I mean, even just one wallet on EVM chains, because of all the layer twos, it's really annoying to fund your wallets with gas. Like time and time again, you will run into this issue that you don't have gas on one of the chains. And we basically built a solution for this problem, so that you can subscribe to gas fees, so that you can get gas on all of the EVM chains, and you don't have to refill your wallets manually. And just that just shows, I think the user perspective is always a really good indicator. If you have this problem as a user, it's a good indicator that it's like a good idea. So then the next thing you do is, okay, you have this idea in mind, you start scrolling through the ETH Global partner prices. These are the ETH Global partner prices for Singapore. And you're scrolling around, idea in mind, and then you arrive at something like Hyperlane. And Hyperlane is an interoperability framework. And as soon as you read this, you have to think, okay, we want to bridge gas native tokens across multiple chains. Maybe it makes sense to incorporate an interoperability framework. And you can take a look. This is how it looks usually. They have different grants, and then you see, okay, maybe best application would be a grant that's applicable for our project. And then you go into studying this. So you next step would be opening the Hyperlane docs and really familiarize yourself with this technology to see if it makes sense to implement this thing in your project, and also to answer all of the open questions that you have about it. So I would be scrolling through Hyperlane docs, and then at some point I will reach a stage where I think, okay, I know how to implement this stuff. I'm quite sure technically how this will work out at the hackathon. And you obviously do this with all of the other partner prizes as well that you want to implement. And then what we do, and what we did in Singapore, this is the original document, we collect all of that information in one document, and then we start specifying and structuring the information. So here, for example, you can see we have split up the project on paper in different components. We have a front end, contracts, and a backend high-level component. And then as an example, we started specifying how the front end is supposed to look like. And remember, this is all still in the preparation phase. So you can do all of this before the hacking phase is actually starting. So we split up the front end into these 4 components, for example. And then we have description for the components so that everyone really knows how they are supposed to look like. And then really important, we have prioritized these components. I mean, you don't have to do it as this detailed in the document, but everyone working on the project should know which are the most important problems that have to be solved for the project, because I think like 90% of the time you have this great, amazing project in mind that you're going to implement on the hackathon, and like 90% of the time you're not going to finish it. You have to highly prioritize, and you have to start with the stuff that is a must-have. And then later on, if you got all of the really important problems solved, you can start with like some cosmetic, highly detailed features. Okay, so we have composed all of the information in this document, and we have structured it. And then next is the start of the hacking phase. And for that, I can't go really into too much detail, because I think every project is different, and there's no really like blueprint on which framework you should use. But there are some like recurring things for us. So we just create a GitHub repository. We structure the GitHub repository along the lines of the project structure. So you can see here we have some backend folder, front-end folder, Solidity folder. And as Patrick already told you, for frontend, we usually use Next.js. For Solidity, we use Foundry. But if you are like a hardhead user, or if you have other frameworks that you are more familiar with, then just use these frameworks. I think there's no blueprint for this. You have to find out yourself how exactly your project is implemented. It's just important that you know how that's being done beforehand and that you know in what order this should be done. Also, maybe a recommendation, you can deploy the frontend for free on Vercel. That's really good for the tech demo later, because at ETH Global they love tech demos. And the Singapore tech demo that we did looked like this. So this is the frontend. I think you've seen an image already. And any user, it's hosted on Vercel, so everyone can access it. Any user can go here, connect his wallet, and then use the platform. And I think this is another important step. You have to be really make sure that the front end is understandable in maybe like 30 seconds to 1 minute. Because if we go to the showcase side, you have to think the reason for you to being at the hackathon is winning, right? So you have to approach this from the perspective of the partners. They click on live demo. They want to quickly understand what your project is about, because they have maybe like 50 submissions going on. So it's really important to have a simple demonstration, a simple demo video, just a few pictures showing what the project does really basically. Then we, as you can see, we have really short descriptions here. Don't put in any like ChatGPT generated marketing speech code. Text. Nobody wants to read that. This is just about presenting the project in like 30 seconds to 1 minute, so that you catch the attention of the partners. Yeah, and I guess that's it from the Singapore example. This is how we approached this in practice. And let's see if there are any more questions.
So there's one question: where do you find quick design for your front end templates, components?
So that's a difficult one, since I would say like every front end developer has like their own system, framework, whatever. I usually use Next.js and in correspondence with that Next.ui to develop the front ends. But there are multiple other frameworks I used. ShadCN UI is also a great component library. Most of the time, I just use like Tailwind CSS to do all the CSS work, since yeah, just a big help. But other than that, like everyone has like their own.
Yeah, but that's a front end developer speaking. Like I did a front end, and Scaffold ETH has like some pre-built components. They all look the same. True. You don't really have too much possibility with using them. But however, if you're probably asking how to design it, just use Scaffold ETH. Like you open it up, it gives you a template. You just move some stuff around. Worst case, they already have like some debugging. To just look at Scaffold ETH. If you are like don't do front end, then just do that. It's not going to look super great. You will probably not win like huge prizes with your front end. However, it's easy.
It depends on what the focus of the project is, really. So if your technical focus is, if your project is on a technical focus, Scaffold ETH is totally fine, more than enough. But if you like have a UX project, you probably shouldn't use Scaffold ETH as like your design guideline. But yeah.
What are some?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just gonna add in the chat my answer for the 2 questions. So for the common topics to resolve, I put some generic IDs. You can complete it if you want, Patrick. And also some tools that I use. I want to add also v0.dev. It's like a AI tool made to generate easy front ends. So I use it as basically a template, and then I change some things. I add images. It's really fast for hackathons, so you should definitely try it.
I mean, I personally like from the Solidity perspective, I like more like this 42 way of really starting bare bones. So I usually don't use too many tools. I looked a bit at the EVM bytecode, which is not necessary, but it's quite interesting if you actually want to understand the underlying technology, and I think that is kind of the 42 spirit. But yeah, it's not gonna instantly boost your hackathon performance. It's just really getting to know your tools. I think what I don't know, a lot of people don't do that, but I really liked reading through the Foundry, like through all the CLI tools and all the different flags you can use and the commands, and figuring out what you can actually do with those tools. It's just learn your tools, learn how to use a terminal, learn how to use these commands, learn how to test stuff quickly, learn how to write tests, like doing all that. It takes a while just to get used to, but I really like, I think 42 has that spirit. I think it works. It's a great thing. And if you really want to get like to this highest level, you really need a strong foundation. Otherwise things will collapse very fast, which is fine. Like if it's your first hackathon, it's fine. You don't want to go get there. Like you would just want to get here. So just quickly, you don't need to learn all those basics. If you just want to have fun on your first hackathon, but at some point, and if you want to level yourself up, learn those fundamentals. What about backend tools? I mean, yeah, it's just Foundry and the whole Foundry chain. I'm still not, yeah, it's Foundry code. Like Forge is the command to compile the code and test it and push it on chain. Cast is like a CLI tool to do anything with the chain. They have Anvil, which starts a local chain. Like these kind of tools, get to know them, get to know their work, and then you're, I think, good to go.
And also there's like the platform, the that's a really good one. No, not Remix. I meant like the other one, the development, like
the
where you
debugging thing.
the debugging thing. Can't remember the name right now.
I forgot the name too, yeah.
Must
But
be
I mean,
great.
it's not really a backend tool; it's just debugging, yeah. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it helps a lot when developing Solidity, I would say. Let me see if I can figure it out.
What are some
Okay.
common topics to tackle on the Web3 hackathons for both beginners and Web3 users? I mean, there's like topic areas. I think like UX is always something that comes up. NFTs is always comes up. I think anything that you search on Google, like the first 10 things, like payments is usually something, like specifically in the emerging countries where they have like much of a bigger problem with the banking system. Then usually there's some finance stuff in there, some NFT stuff. So anything, and I mean, it's basically the whole of
AI.
Yeah.
AI also, whether you think it makes sense or not, there's a lot of AI hype going on, and a lot of partner projects will do some AI topics. Also wallets, just in general, like smart wallets, it's maybe a topic. And if you are like progressed a little, not beginner anymore, then I would say it's really good to stay up to date what happens in the Ethereum community. What are the new technical problems that are trying to solve for? So, for example, the current hot topic I would say is unifying Ethereum. So solving the problem that the liquidity is split across all of the layer 2s. And if you have something in this vicinity, then that's good. Or maybe we had the Denkun upgrade a while ago. Using blobs is maybe a good idea. So just look at at what stage is the technology currently, and in which direction is it going, and then just find an idea in this area.
I mean, there's one question: are you aware of any projects that integrate AI and Web3? Do you believe there's potential mixing those up in a hackathon? So, I mean, we actually thought about, it's still in the making, but we thought about making a hackathon here in Heilbronn. Actually, in this space we are right now, since we have this space, we thought like, and we have been attending quite a few ETH Global Hackathons, we actually wanted to make an ETH Heilbronn hackathon. And since most of you probably don't know Heilbronn, but it's sort of trying to merge as this AI hub in Europe. And we actually have a huge AI center getting built right now. And so I think we thought about actually making like an AI Web3 hackathon here in Heilbronn. So it's still in the making. It's probably going to be next year in December, so roughly in a year. But yeah, maybe look out for that.
And also back to the question from before about backend tools. So there's a great Solidity debug tool, I would call it, called Tenderly. You can simulate transactions there and like modify the state of the chain just for your simulation of your transaction. So it's really great, and it helps a lot to even understand all of the logic that's behind there. So I can really recommend that too. It's free for like basic usage, and yeah, so it's perfect.
Also, to finish up the top question right now, if there's potential to mix up AI and Web3, I would say we already said this. There's a lot of potential. A lot of partners want AI projects just because it's a big hype right now. For example, a hot topic in Web3 currently is probably a lot of people have heard about it. Is the AI agent stuff, where you hook up an LLM that's just running concurrently to a wallet, and then it does some kind of like blockchain specific tasks, like sending transactions or something. So there's a lot of potential in this vicinity, and if you are like an AI focused developer, then obviously there will be a space for you at ETH Global Hackathons. How do you stay up to date? Yeah, so that's really just you have to be in the trenches. You have to be out there every day and just see what's happening. I mean, I think there's no really good option to. Yeah, you just have to be on crypto Twitter. You just have to, I don't know, maybe go through the Ethereum forum and look at the new EIPs that are being published if you are more of a technical guy. You just have to be in the trenches, generally. How to filter through clickbait blockchain content on YouTube for learning Web3. Yeah, I think all of us, you rarely use YouTube to learn to learn something. I don't
Read
know.
the docs. You won't get around reading the docs. Stop using YouTube. Just go through the docs. You'll probably learn like much quicker. I know it's like a bit of a trying to get used to it, and it's like not as nice and entertaining. But I think like regarding any topic, whether it's like Go libraries or C or anything, like I learned by far the most just reading the docs, like looking through other people's code, reading through the library code if you don't understand how it works. It helps you so much more. At least I think it's maybe not as entertaining. And if you just, the only time I use YouTube is when I eat breakfast. When I eat breakfast or like eat lunch, then I watch YouTube videos about coding, learning stuff. Otherwise, I just read the docs, and I think you really that
But
way
I mean,
you'll quicker.
if you are really, I think this is also the question is like framed in a little bit in a way that maybe it's also about the absolute basics. So like, what's a blockchain? How does it work? Something like that. I think then YouTube is absolutely fine. You just have to think and see if the content is. But in the beginning, you won't be able to see that anyways, right? So it's always this learning process. In the beginning, you will consume some shit content. Maybe read a book also. I think that's what I did in the beginning about blockchain. Just I think more important than worrying about what content you consume in the beginning is just that you put in the effort, and then you will soon be able to see yourself if this is good content or not.
I think one thing I want to add to the staying up to date is actually what I did is, again, it's very technical, but I think it's very helpful. It's just reading the EIP proposals. So this is like very far down the rabbit hole, but actually just they're all public, so you can just go in there and see like what kind of proposals pop up. It's really interesting because there's a lot of stuff that you won't actually find. You just Google stuff, you won't find anything to that because it's really like cutting edge stuff. So I think that's a really good way to then stay up to date once you actually already know some stuff.
Yeah.
I think with that, subscribe your newsletter, guys.
Yeah, we don't have a newsletter, but
Does 42Blockchain have a newsletter? Will?
No, not yet, not yet.
Yeah. So
maybe that's an opportunity.
We started to send emails, but it went bad. So
yeah.
And I just want to add, so for the last question that was asking about blockchain X AI projects, there's a really cool project for me that makes sense. It's really well known. It's Bitensor, and I recommend you checking it out. So basically, it's like a uTorrent or this peer-to-peer thing, but with AI. So you can plug your computer and basically you will get paid to run a LLM, and so it's decentralized. So multiple people will check the result of the LLM. So it's really interesting, a way to change the narrative of OpenAI owning the main LLM.
Yeah, maybe also put that one in the chat.
With that, I think
no more questions. I think that's a wrap.
Also slowly have to get back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at least from our
Yeah.
side, that's it.
Yeah, thanks for everyone attending.
Thank you, guys.
Will, maybe you want to have the closing words?
I see you all guys at the club. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah,
See
thank
you
you,
at the
Luca.
next
Thank you, Patrick.
global
Thank you,
and-
Paul.
yeah. Bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Thank you.
Goodbye.